Hey, what's up guys? I'm Dave Klein. So, word on the street is there's a new Dark Souls 2 trailer, and this one actually reveals quite a bit of new information, so let's talk about it. And before I begin, I think it goes without saying that there will be some major Dark Souls 1 spoilers ahead, so I just wanted to properly warn you guys. The cursed Dark Souls 2 trailer reveals a new undead legend.
Perhaps you've seen it. Maybe in a dream. A murky, forgotten land. A place where souls may mend your ailing mind. Long ago, in a walled-off land far to the north, a great king built a great kingdom. I believe they called it Drangleic.
In Dark Souls 1, we were given an undead legend as well, from an unknown narrator of whom we're given to speculate.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Do these sound maybe a little similar to you? Let's also hear Oscar of Astora's version of the legend of the undead in Dark Souls 1.
There is an old saying in my family, "Thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know."
Now, the reason I point this out is, if you finished Dark Souls 1 and dug into the lore, you know that upon ringing the bells of awakening, you're actually being manipulated by Gwendolyn and Front to link the fire. All legends are started by someone, and Oscar's version of the legend of the undead seems to be a manipulation from the very beginning. So, looking at what we know about Dark Souls 2, it seems to me that this narration is also not going to be all it seems. Again, all legends are started by someone, so there's probably a larger and darker reason this legend was started in Dark Souls 2.
A murky, forgotten land. A place where souls may mend your ailing mind.
VaatiVidya said it best in his Cursed trailer analysis, which I recommend checking out if you haven't. But this bit right here is like drawing a moth to a flame. Most of the dialogue we get in this new trailer is about how accursed it is to be undead, and how you will slowly go insane and go hollow. It's inevitable if you're undead. Yet, here's a place where you can cure your curse, where you can mend your ailing mind. This sounds like heaven to someone who realizes they have the dark sign. And that said, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to some of the future dialogue that relates to this. It's hard to hear some of this in the English trailer, but the Japanese trailer had subtitles, and I gotta give props to Reddit user Draco Expolier for translating them. We the undead will never be dead. You'll go hollow instead, and become one of them.
Your wings will burn in anguish, time after time. For that is your fate. The fate of the cursed.
So again, hammering in just how bad it is to go undead. Your fate as an undead is to be cursed to suffer failure over and over again, and eventually go insane. Bearer of the curse, seek misery, till this frail hope shatters, lest this land swallow you whole, as it has so many others. But what else can we draw away from the trailer? You'll need the abyss. Let's also look at the Masks and Dragons trailer.
You are of the undead, forever without hope, forever without light.
These both indicate, as I've discussed in my Dark Souls 2 beta lore and E3 speculation videos, The game takes place after the events of Dark Souls 1, and the abyss seems to still be spreading, and the light has faded. But does that mean the Dark Lord ending is canon? I don't think so. Linking the flames is simply a temporary measure, and the abyss will still be spreading regardless. Another interesting point though, you'll need the abyss. Why will we need the abyss? Is this the player being manipulated again? This time towards spreading the abyss, and perhaps this being the reason Drangleic is supposed to be a place to mend your mind? Or perhaps it has to do with what I speculated back in July. What if you travel between different eras, similar to traveling back in time to Ulasil in the Dark Souls DLC, and you actually need the abyss and future time to progress to different areas in the game? If you're interested in hearing more on that theory, watch my E3 lore speculation video. But what do you guys think the meaning of this line is?
Long ago, in a walled-off land far to the north, a great king built a great kingdom. I believe they called it Drangleic.
Is Drangleic Anor Londo? Well, no. The developers have stated in multiple interviews that Drangleic and the area Dark Souls 2 takes place in is a completely separate area and departure from Lordran. It's possible Drangleic was built in Anor Londo's image, but Anor Londo, it is not. So who is this king in the north who built up the great land of Drangleic? Well, I think we have two possible people from what we know coming out of the beta. The narrator is probably referring to either King Vendrick, who was known for leading Drangleic to prosperity, or she could be referring to the Iron King. Now, it's possible there are more leaders of Drangleic we don't know of, but my guess would be that this is King Vendrick. What do you guys think? So all that said, let's talk about the actual creatures we're seeing in this new trailer. This particular demon-esque monster looks to me like the new dragon god or bed of chaos, but we can all hope that it isn't. Something interesting about this boss is it reminded me a little bit of this hard-to-spot creature in the Dark Souls Despair trailer. Did you catch it? Darren Banish pointed out to me in a previous video that if you stop the trailer at the flash, you'll see this creature. And while they do look different, they both have large horns and fire, and I thought it was a good chance to show those of you who missed it. There are a couple of new enemies who are actually rather reminiscent of what we've seen out of Ulasil and the corruption the abyss has caused. Bear in mind that the people of Drangleic use hexes, which is akin to dark magic, so it does seem very plausible that there would be multiple abyss influences within some of the creatures. Another great thing about this trailer is we finally get to see some of the new boss designs. I'll just show a few of my favorites, as I'm assuming you've already watched the trailer. Here we have a creature composed of various undead bodies, still writhing and squirming. Not only is this insanely badass, as it's basically a high definition of Symphony of the Night's Grand Falloon, but beyond that, it's a boss who's taking advantage of the undead flocking to Drangleic and creating a body out of them. There's not too much to speculate on this one, except for the implied creepiness of the long fingers dragging up the giant scythe. Kita, is that you?
That was an inside joke.
And finally, something about this particular boss design resonates with me. My favorite designs are always ones where there's only something slightly wrong. While I imagine the fight will involve this boss attacking you with wide sweeping attacks that you in turn dodge away from, how great would it be if there's a moment when the boss breaks out of its hand restraints? But that's just me. What has you guys excited from the new Cursed trailer, and what are your thoughts on the new lore tidbits presented? If you'd like to see my lore compilation from the beta, go ahead and click on the link provided. Also, go ahead and check out my speculation from back in July after E3, and we can start seeing how accurate I actually was, or wasn't. I'll leave you guys with this quote from Marcus, aka Epic Name Bro, who had the chance to play through the entire game to work on the Dark Souls 2 strategy guide. Let's just say, March can't come soon enough. See you guys next time.